Hi, we're here with Marcia Keegan, Vice President of ESPN Production. First, before we start, I'm reading your bio. So how does someone who was trained as an attorney end up in this position?
I had a very unique way of getting here. I actually worked at ESPN in their early years, as I like to say, when it was one network and two buildings. And this is a true story. I was sitting there nights, weekends, holidays, and I thought, there's no future here. This company's not going to make it. And I left and went to law school. And obviously the company made it. They actually became a client of mine over time. And I did their employment work, worked with their HR department, and that's how I came back in through the HR group. Did all the work for Norby Williamson, who headed up all the production then, all his HR work. He realized I had the production background, I was more interested in that, and he gave me the opportunity to come back to production, where I've been for over 10 years now.
So that's funny. So you were here in the 80s, the 80s, and this is not going to happen.
I really believe that. I said, and the other one I predicted.
Why did you think it wasn't going to happen?
We were losing money hand over fist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we literally had to worry about making payroll some weeks. The big networks were not cooperating with us. You know, we were like this annoying little sister or something, and I just didn't see it working. Little did I know.
And little did you know, and now you're back here, and I think it worked.
I think it did, and
this huge campus and everywhere else. I think it worked. 9 million platforms. I think it worked.
Kidding. It's a good thing I went to law school, as I say, instead of business school, because clearly I had no business aptitude with that prediction.
Okay, so fast forward. Right now, your responsibilities. What do you oversee?
Well, I have a number of the programming on ESPN2 weekdays, including Mike and Mike from 6 to 10, First Take 10 to 12, and His and Hers from 12 to 1, and then some repeats, like First Take repeats from 1 to 3, and then periodically His and Hers repeats. So it's a good portion of the weekday that's on ESPN2. I also have other responsibilities, but those are the ones that take up a significant amount of my time.
One of the things I wanted to get into with you was, you know, this dates back to the sports reporters on the Sunday show on ESPN, but really I think it kind of started with PTI, this start of PTI, and then Around the Horn, this idea of this debate format, that you can stick two sports reporters or a panel of 4 sports reporters in different areas, but in a box. And just have them talk sports. And I think initially I remember being skeptical. I know Tony Kornheiser was skeptical about it with PTI, that nobody's going to watch this. And it's really flourished. And now you talk about First Take, which is wildly popular, and you know, and it continues to be. And what is it about that format what's the thinking behind the format? Why did they do that in the first place, and why has it worked?
Well, I wasn't around when the PTI was formulated, although I am now back having responsibility over PTI and Around the Horn and Dan Levitard, which is interesting as well, because you look at all those debate and opinion shows. I think it works because at its base is two people talking in a bar about whether or not they agree with what the announcer on TV is saying. And you always know about sports debates, whether it's in someone's home watching TV or if it's in a bar or wherever it is, people love to debate sports. So that's kind of the genesis, I believe. And then what you have to do is you have to get two people with credibility who know how to argue without it getting ugly. You know, you need the chemistry between the two people. And you have an entertaining and really thoughtful. I think people underestimate how much thought goes into these shows.
And we talked, you know, and my experience, with First Take, you know, I think especially with the younger viewers, I mean, and I'm talking about the college, Stephen A. Smith walked into this room right now, into our room where we're teaching this class, I mean, the place would erupt. I mean, right?
It's good to hear, yes.
Yeah, right? I mean, because
he has a huge following.
He has a huge following. What makes him so compelling?
I think people enjoy his drama, but they also enjoy his passion, not drama so much as passion. And he's knowledgeable. He knows the players in many instances. He knows the background that the average viewer doesn't have. He's willing to share it, and he believes in what he's saying. And sometimes it's outrageous, but he believes it.
So that's a key point, because we were talking, you know, Skip Bayless was a long-time panelist on First Take. He's no longer with the show, but obviously he had a huge impact in that show. And I had many discussions with Skip, and I know Skip very well from his days at the Chicago Tribune. and I knew the answer to the question, but there was always people, critics, kind of saying that he would just say stuff outrageous that he didn't believe in. And I said, no, it might be outrageous, it might be crazy, but Skip will not say one word that he doesn't believe in. And that's still, and Stephen's the same way?
Yes. We don't manufacture a debate in any of our shows. And I know that some people don't believe that, but it's absolutely true.
I mean, Skip once told me, I remember I did a story on him, he said, if we're in a meeting and someone says, okay, if you feel one way and someone says, well, I'll take the other side of it, he said, no, that's not happening at all. That we won't do that.
That's right.
And so it's genuine. So it has to be, there has to be, critics withstanding, there has to be that feeling with the core viewers, of which there is a substantial amount of core viewers for a weekday show on ESPN2. It's remarkable the numbers that they do and the following that they have. There has to be that feeling of that this is genuine, as you said, right. that there's this belief.
Yes, and when we went to look with Skip leaving and went to look for a replacement, we wanted the same thing in that person. Really strong opinions that they were willing to share, and they come across as believable. And I think we found that in Max Kellerman.
Yeah, but I think the thing that's been fascinating to me is that this format really came from ESPN, but now you look at the CNNs and the MSNBCs and Foxes. I mean, and the Sunday morning political shows. They all have this roundtable format now, and it really kind of came from you guys.
Again, that's before my time, but I'd like to think that, and I think part of it is sports is a natural subject for debate, as is politics. So it's in many ways they are similar.
Yeah, and it's great. The radio show, one of the most popular shows in Mike and Mike nationally.
Also a TV show.
And TV show, right, TV show too. And the idea, okay, let me ask you this. Okay, so let's not forget that. The idea of bringing a radio show and putting it on TV, again, two guys talking, why does that work?
I think it's very similar to why First Take, which did not start as a radio show, works. It's the engagement between the two mics. It's the hosts or the guests that come on. It's the questions, the thoughtful responses. People just enjoy listening to it. They learn something.
I want to go back just real quick because I just thought of a question with First Take. You sat in, I'm sure, in production meetings, right?
Of course.
Just take us behind the scenes, because I'm sure those production meetings were sometimes off the wall, especially knowing Skip the way I do. Great guy, but very passionate. Is there anything you can share with the class that would kind of, that do you have any favorite story or anything like that?
Well, you'd be surprised. Skip and Stephen A. will let their ultimate opinion be known, but they won't share their thoughts during the production meeting. I don't know if they're afraid each other would steal their thoughts or if someone would second guess them, but I'll take this side, I believe the other side, and that's all you heard. Then they go out and then they prepare themselves individually, and we don't even hear it for the first time until it's on TV. Now, we do have an editorial support person, a guy named Chuck Salatoro. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet him. And if the topic seems to be in any way sensitive, he'll talk to each of them separately to make sure that they're not going to say anything inadvertently that they didn't mean, but somebody could misinterpret, which, as you know, has happened from time to time. But it's separate. They never shared their feelings prior to the actual show. That's
great. So in this job, when you say, okay, you've been here a long time, obviously, how have you seen this place grow and evolve through the years?
Well, I mean, if you go way back to when I was first here, we were just trying to get shows on the air, which was a scramble. And then you come fast forward 30-some years, get Mike and Mike 4 hours of TV on the air every single day, 5 days a week, can sometimes be the same scramble. We just have more technology and more resources, but the people are the same. They're working their tail off to get the best content they have available on the air. But it's changed substantially, and as the world has with technology. Breaking news, that's huge. When you can have things broken on Twitter, and we're not willing to report it because we don't have confirmation of it. You don't want to report something that's wrong, and then we get criticized for not being fast enough, or sometimes if we get it people question our sources. I can tell you this, we take our sources and our news very, very seriously. We're not going to go with a story that we don't believe 100% is accurate. So that has changed substantially with the internet, with social media and all that.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but as we talk here in July of 2016, Stephen A. did talk about Cubs pitcher Jake Arrieta and, seemed to imply, at least hint maybe, that there was some stuff going on that why he's become such a good pitcher. And that caused a big firestorm, especially in our area in Chicago.
There's a difference between what we consider, at least in my opinion, not everyone agrees with me, between what we may report as news on SportsCenter and what an opinion may be on First Take. And when Stephen A. looks at different things and comes to his opinion, to me that's different than SportsCenter going on and saying this baseball player is doing X, Y, Z. But it's a slippery slope, it's a gray line, and it's not always, it's a blurry gray line.
Yeah, especially for a show like you guys, for shows that, have seemed to have touched different chords. How has social media kind of impacted what you guys do?
Well, First Take is under, I always say, be careful, you are a target. Everybody's watching, and half of them are watching it for a misstep. So the least little thing can become a controversy overnight with social media. And news spreads so quickly. So, the combination of sometimes being a little too cautious, believe it or not, because you're afraid that you'll be misquoted, you'll be mischaracterized, whatever it is. Stephen A. speaks from his heart, he speaks with passion and doesn't have that caution as much as, say, somebody else. So it has changed things. Is that answer?
Yeah, I think, but obviously, but you still want them to be themselves. And I think that at the end of the day.
And they need to engage with their fans through social media. Mm-hmm. Like Stephen A. will engage. I mean, he has a huge number of followers. Jamel Hill will actually engage and respond to people.
Right.
Skip Bayless would tweet, but he wouldn't respond to any tweets. Everyone has their own style on social media.
Yeah. So after all these years, when you tell people, ask you, what's it like to work at ESPN, what do you tell them?
It's a lot of fun. It's sports, it's fun, but it's also a job. There are days that it's just a job. It's not as fun as you think, right?
Yeah.
But overall, it's. I have a new boss as of 2 days ago, or the Monday, and I met with him Monday, and he had another guy in with him, and he says to the two of us, he goes, just keep in mind, this is sports. If we can't have fun doing this job, there's something wrong with us. I thought, I like that attitude.
Great. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks
Great
for having
stuff.
me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.